I would like briefly to discuss some of the changes that are occurring in the Middle East, and to say, especially because I am in charge of the army, what this means for us on a strategic level, what challenges this poses for the IDF, and in the short time at my disposal to give you a brief review of the subjects that we will need to contend with. I know that I have to start with Egypt, and I've already spoken on another occasion when I appeared before a committee regarding what I see when I take a bird's eye view of the Middle East, and I can say there are real tectonic changes going on. But before this lava erupted in Egypt, these are very dramatic changes, but you know, the tectonic changes occur under the surface. You don't always see them, and then it becomes very dramatic. We have to start with Egypt, of course. I think peace with Egypt is a very important strategic asset. There's no argument about that. I hope there will be stability there, but it's difficult to say. Just three quick insights I think that the IDF has to draw. I was asked critically, and I think that's quite all right, how did you not see that this was going to happen? And the question is a good one. And I can tell you that no intelligence analyst or assessor has a crystal ball. Nobody is a prophet, and we need to aspire to that state. And I think I gave a good answer, not a defiance answer. I said to my interlocutor, I said, listen, he said, if you think I need to know at least what the Egyptian chief of staff knows about what's going on in Egypt, he said to me, yes, you should. I said, I can tell you that the Egyptian chief of staff was on his way from Washington to Cairo when this was happening, and he didn't know either. I think this brings us to the second insight. I think that in the regimes around us, the nature and the components of those regimes, we see something that is fascinating. We see a lot of the power being moved to the public, a lot of it thanks to the social networks, Facebook, Twitter, texting. This is the net. And if there is an idea, and there are believers, and there's a door that is not that strong that could be broken through, then you see the harbingers of revolutions of this kind. I think that in general, the reality that is developing around us, we can view it as an opportunity, but it involves a lot of dangers too. I think it is a greater strategic and defense challenge to Israel. We cannot avoid the conclusion that there has been a strengthening of the radical camp. I'm sure you've discussed this here. The signs could be seen before Egypt. We can talk about Lebanon, the changes in orientation in Turkey, the very radical policy in Iran, not only in the matter of nuclearization. Iran is behind most of the financing, arming, training, equipping of most of the terrorist organizations, and not only in our region. What this means for us in the face of all these changes, that means, first of all, that we have to strengthen Israel's assets in this region. There was a question that came up recently, is Israel an asset or a burden? I think this is an excellent opportunity to underscore the asset that Israel is for the West, an island of stability in this entire region. And I think that Israel, in that sense, has an opportunity, at least from the area of my responsibility, but I think this should be noted on the background of what we're seeing. We were always taught to move the war as quickly as possible to enemy territory, but that's what's happening to us from day one. And the more you fight, in the fact, the largest proportion of the fighting is on the home front of the country. And if to that you add the delegitimization, all this adds many difficulties in operating our forces. The big question is, how do we address these issues? It's in the matter of concepts and how to operate the force. I think that we need, in order to answer that question, to understand the logic of the rival system, Hezbollah and Syria, and certainly Hamas and others. It is called the approach of the mukawama, the resistance. I think that they had a huge incentive in their encounters with us over years, and they understood that encounters with us on the classical battlefield is catastrophic for them, lethal. And, based on the tradition of the IDF, they changed their approach and they enter urban areas, and from there they use ballistic fire against Israel when this is very deterring and takes a heavy price. We force them to limit their forces in urban. What happened after Operation Cast Lid? We force ourselves, not because of the laws of war, but because of the norms. We don't want to hurt non-combatants. We don't want to hurt innocent civilians. And perhaps we don't want to enter the urban areas because, in a Western society, you hesitate. You're not always prepared to have this close hand-to-hand combat in which there are civilian casualties, and perhaps then they won't go into those places. And perhaps they will have this kind of safe haven. And I think that ultimately that is their approach, and with that is what we have to contend with on all levels. And we need to explain it to the war, to our friends, and we do this on the professional level, and everyone understands this. But we also have to build a force. And on that matter, I would like to make a few comments. First of all, and it's clear, we have to prepare the home front of the State of Israel, an organized civilian home front that can contend in the best way possible, better than we did in the Second Lebanon War. That is crucial. And on that matter, we are working on this a great deal.
However, all this arsenal is not going to be useful unless we have military effective targets, and therefore our intelligence, and here the intelligence branch made a major change, and I see that its former head is here. Maybe I'll be able to say a few things about that later, but we are putting a big emphasis on intelligence. We're developing all our disciplines in order to be able to see the targets. If you show me the target beforehand, and I'll be able to give you the right way to deal with it. We have to be prepared. Another lesson that we have drawn is the need not only to practice, but rather and to train. We have to prepare for conventional war. Because of this entire range that I described, we can use this as a springboard to other kinds of conflicts as well. It would be a mistake to prepare for a limited intensity conflict or low intensity conflict and then expect our forces to be able to operate in an all-out campaign as well. And this is what we are doing in the IDF. We have a multi-annual plan that we devised some 3 years ago. It's called TEFEN, and that's what we're working on. I'm now concluding 4 years in office. I think it has been a great privilege to be commanding this military, and it's been a double privilege because I have already left the army once, and history or God gave me a rare gift of a second chance. And I think our military today is strong, it is deterring, it is of high quality. It's determined, and mainly it's a kind of military who understands its objective, and it knows its targets. And I can tell you, travel around places in the army quite a lot, and I can tell you that the military is much stronger than all these processes that we've been going through. People understand their missions, they know what they have to do, and that's what they do. And at least I'm leaving this military feeling not only satisfied but confident as well. People know that this military doesn't belong to anyone in person, but on the other hand, it belongs to everyone, and this is the way they're going to operate in the future as well. Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of all of you, you have to give them a call. Thank you. Thank you. I see this vote of confidence in the IDF soldiers mainly.